Welcome back, everybody, to another Premier League weekend reaction podcast. I'm your host, Gary, joined, as always, by Alex. How are you doing, Alex?
As good as you can do on a Monday evening.
There you go. There you go. If you're new here, subscribe, give us a like. We would really appreciate it. What's coming up in today's episode? We've got winners and losers of the weekend. As usual, we've got the late drama at West Ham versus Man United, and we're going to discuss Aston Villa versus Everton, and we have goal of the week as per usual. Let's get straight into it. Winner of the week, Alex. Who have you got? I've got my pick, but who have you got?
Oh, you know what? There's quite a few contenders I feel this week. You know, to be fair, there's a lot of teams that played really well, and there's also players of those teams that played well, and managers who set up blah blah blah. Like there was a lot of contenders, but for me, I'm going to go Tuchel, and the reason why I'm going for him is because in that first half, I think Tottenham tactically surprised Chelsea, and they kind of weren't sure what to do. But he analysed, he adapted, and in that second half, they absolutely pummeled Tottenham. And I think that was a proper example of a manager making a change and getting a win based on the changes he's made, which is exactly what you want from a manager, right?
Yeah, he's a very astute in-game tactical analyzer, and he has the balls to change it when he sees fit. Yeah, he's Chelsea and Tuchel. Yeah, all of it in the same boat for me in terms of winner of the week. I think 5 games in. Like I know it's only 5 games in, but they've shown to me that they are the title favorites. I think I had a sneaky suspicion. I thought it was Man City, but I'm going with Chelsea. Maybe it's recency bias, maybe, but consistency and defensively, they look very sound. And they've only dropped 2 points against Liverpool when they were away at Anfield, and they were down to 10 men. And they played 3 London derbies, right? Arsenal, Tottenham, and Crystal Palace, if you count it. They won them all, haven't conceded. Like, that is insane. Is that 9-0 on aggregate or something ridiculous? So, yeah, they're definitely winner of the week, top of the league. Like, but Tottenham, how worried should we be about Tottenham?
Right now, not too worried. Just because it's too early, and I think.
Really?
Wait.
Okay.
No, hear me out. Because the thing is, right, is they're not performing, I'd say, worse than they were last season. Because let's remember, they weren't very good last season. So I wouldn't say they're performing worse than they were last season, but they're not performing better yet. So I'd say at the very worst at the moment, they're being the same average team they were last season. And the reason I say there's no reason to worry yet is because Nuno is still very new into his job. He had the whole summer of dealing with the Kane saga. And then as soon as that's over and Kane starts playing, who, by the way, hasn't actually been playing that well since he's come back. So maybe his brain isn't 100% like kind of in it. I don't know if that's
four shots on target, right? Only for the season.
So there's that. And then, so once the Kane saga got over and done with, he then had the international break where he had like 3 players, and 2 of them were part of the Brazil authorities coming onto the pitch during the game situation. He has had a lot to deal with in his like kind of first few months, and non-footballing situations to deal with in his first few months at Tottenham. And I still feel like he's trying to implement his style. I think if Tottenham are still like kind of maintaining where they're at the moment, where they're like kind of very inconsistent, losing heavily and just about scraping by wins, I think then maybe by the end of October, then I think they should start to worry.
Yeah, I just don't understand the direction they've gone in just most recently. Like they had a good start to the Premier League, 3-1-0 wins, but then suddenly 3-2-0, 3-0 losses in a row. Like they just needed to keep their defensive solidarity and like expand their like attacking and offensive game, and it's just gone absolutely the wrong way. So yeah, it's. I don't know. It's good for me because North London derby's coming up. It's good, probably a good time to play Tottenham. Loser of the week. We go into loser of the week, and who do you have in mind for loser of the week? There's a couple of contenders. I feel.
Do you want to go first with this one? Just because I'm trying to work out in my head. Like I have a few contenders, and you'll probably say one of them. But do you want to go first with this one?
I have like sort of a runner-up, right? and that is this is Pep Guardiola. I'm gonna name him out now. Like it's a bit hard to name someone as like loser of the week when they're like at the upper echelon of the Premier League table. But Pep Guardiola, frustrated at the lack of support of the attendance in the Champions League against RB Leipzig. I think they had like something like 30,000 fans, 30-something thousand fans in attendance, which is, I would say, on the low side for a Champions League game. And it's for, the champions-elect of the Premier League. It's difficult. You got loads of things. You got still the pandemic rolling on. Wednesday night is awkward. People might not be able to make the game. It might be too expensive as well. So some fans got like riled up, definitely on Twitter. Arsenal fans to attend this Saturday, weirdly, when Premier League attendances have been A-OK, and he got exactly what he wanted. He got 53,000 fans plus into the stadium, and their capacity is 54,000. And they could only muster up one shot on target, and they draw 0-0. So he brought everyone to the game, supposedly, just to show up a stinker like that, which was kind of like, it's unfortunate, obviously, like, but I just found it, not entertaining, but like the worst possible thing that could happen other than a loss.
I think the word you're looking for is ironic, because it's like, come, we need your support. They turn up and it's like that. It's just like, no, you need more than that. To be fair, so there's a few things. One, I think it's, to be fair to Manchester City, I feel like Premier League game or like weekend games, they usually sell out, to be fair, right? I do think it's a bit bad if you're not selling out Champions League games, but we are in the middle of a pandemic, so it's difficult to like kind of draw the line where it's like kind of where it's bad or where it's like kind of just situational. But we'll leave that for now. The second thing is there's one manager in the world who I think can get away with calling out the fan base and live to tell the tale, and it is probably the one guy who's done it. Because I feel like anyone else has done that, it's just like you just feel like they're nearing the end.
Yeah, because he'd be just like, I'll leave. I'll leave. You do. He's got all the power, really, Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, 100%. So it's just quite interesting to me that the one guy in the whole footballing world who could probably get away with this, done it.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny. I mean, I don't think Pep Guardiola is going to lose many loser of the week or weekends. So I just thought it would be funny to even have him as a contender. But we discussed it a little bit before this game. My pick is Norwich. Who is your pick?
I think I'd probably go with Norwich as well. I think for me, the main thing is, right, so let's be realistic. Their start to the Premier League was absolutely horrific. I don't know who drew up the Premier League fixtures, but clearly they've got a vendetta against Norwich, which I don't know. Maybe they don't like yellow and green or canaries. I'm not sure. But they had the world's worst start to a Premier League campaign. Fine. All those four games, those four really tough games, they're done. Like, you've got the shit games out of the way. Then you have Watford, who are certainly at the beginning of the season, they're like kind of your relegation rivals. And what do they always say about teams that want to stay up? You have to beat the teams around you, and you have to treat Watford like one of those teams because they're one of your fellow promotees. They've come up with you, and they didn't. This was the game where they were supposed to show, we can stay in this league, and they just did not do that. Watford looked like the team to me that they wanted to stay up.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Like you're going into a 6-pointer against Watford. You've just come up with them. You're at home as well. You're desperate for a point, just a point, right? You need to be up for the fight. You need to be ready to go. And I just didn't see that with Norwich in this game. And like the defending, oh my God, the defending was absolutely atrocious. Like for the first goal, the ball comes in. You got 3 defenders there just, chilling out whilst, the Watford striker just nips in ahead of them and just headers it in. And it's just like a lot of terrible defending where, the back line is all over the place. For the goal that they conceded, second goal, I'm not so sure. I think they're playing a sweeper. That's the only way I can explain it. I don't know much about Norwich's tactics, but from that goal, it looked like they were playing a sweeper, and they just couldn't control any of the passes in behind. And like Defending is an issue. I just don't know what Norwich can do to stay up with this defending. And on top of that, can I ask, is Farke a Premier League manager? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, does he have it in his repertoire to keep Norwich up this season?
That's a really tough question to answer. And I'll tell you why it's a tough question is because is it that Farke isn't a Premier League manager, or is it that Norwich aren't a Premier League club? And what I mean by that, if you look over the last 3 seasons, so this season they spent quite a bit of money, but if you actually look on a net basis, because remember they sold Buendia to Aston Villa, they've maybe spent like kind of around 20 million this season. You know, and it's in Premier League terms, it's I can't believe I'm saying this, but in Premier League terms, that's a little bit of pocket change. And I know it's crazy and it feels weird coming out of my mouth, but it is pocket change. And then the season before they spent barely anything, and the season they got relegated, you know, I think they didn't spend over 10 million. You know, so they're not investing in this team. And Farke, you know, I don't know who to blame is. One thing I can tell you about Farke is I know that Pochettino, at his time at Tottenham, he trusted him with the younger players. He felt he held him in high regard for his coaching ability. So there's obviously something there with Farke. If other managers are like kind of they respect you, but it's difficult because maybe it's a bit of both. It could be a bit of both, but it's really difficult to point the finger.
Yeah,
I think, you know what? And do you know what the worst thing is what they are actually missing as well. It's just like kind of a few. What they are expensive these days, but a few leaders, because their performance against Watford, okay, they were actually quite good in spells, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but you couldn't really put Watford under pressure though, under any serious pressure, other than the goal that Pukki scored.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying. I feel like in that game, Norwich had good moments, and the problem is that in those good moments, they didn't have a guy, because Ben Foster made quite a few good saves. So in those, didn't have a guy like kind of to get the goals that they needed to drag them forward. And defensively, they just lacked concentration. I feel like at both ends of the pitch, they need leaders to actually like kind of drag them forward, get the goals and keep the goals out. And I think at the moment, they don't have that.
Chicken and the egg thing, right? Do they have the players and the investment, and do they have the manager? You don't know. If you don't have the players, but if you have the manager, it's possible, right? I feel.
Yeah.
That's only my issue, right? Let's talk about Watford real quickly.
Yeah.
Great result for Watford. They were up for it for the 6-pointer against Norwich. You know, always live to the ball, putting Norwich under pressure. And, you know, like I said, they didn't look like they were under much pressure at all, like other than like a few lapses in concentration. If you go for the team, right, Kiko Firmino, he's back at right back. Watford fans are super appreciative of that. Danny Rose on the other side. You've got Sissoko and you've got Cleverley, who are some workhorses in the midfield. Sarr is absolutely flying. You know, there's no wonder why there's interest in him, like Liverpool, I think it was. And if they can get Joshua King firing, I'm quite up in terms of their chances of staying up. A lot of people probably wouldn't have agreed with that, because you've got good teams. I think Brentford was one of the favourites to stay up. What do you think? Because below them in the relegation zone currently, it's Newcastle, you've got Burnley, and you've got Norwich. Southampton drew against Man City, which is a great result. But I might add them to the mix there. And I think they might be better than those teams.
For me, early signs are good for Watford. You know, they've gone out, they've attacked teams. They got the win this game week. In the last game week against Tottenham, I think they played quite well. You know, they only conceded because of that goal where it was like a cross-come shot from Son. So I think the signs are good. And one bloke you didn't mention, and I know I mentioned him like a few minutes ago, but Ben Foster played really well as well. And I feel like having a good goalkeeper,
good experience,
goalkeeper, fantastic experience. It really does help you in these like kind of relegation battles. So for me, early signs are good for Watford.
Yeah, good performance by Watford. But yeah, well, Norwich, loser of the week. You know, let us know who you think your loser of the week and who your winner of the week is. Do you agree with us? Are we talking absolute gibberish? We probably are, but we move on to our very first game of the week, game of the weekend, really. And how can it be any other game than that game? West Ham versus Man United. You got such a crazy, crazy ending. And oh my God, this is some serious, serious heartbreak stuff for West Ham United fans. Not only do you lose the game, towards the end of the game, you lose it to a goal from a player who had such an impact for them last season. You know, Lingard's fairy tale half-season loan with West Ham, and a player that a lot of the fans wanted him to return on a permanent basis, or even at least on loan, right? Scores an absolute peach of a goal to win it for United. Doesn't celebrate, but it was a crazy game. It always felt like a basketball game, like proper end-to-end stuff on either side, crazy decisions, but the chickens came home to roost potentially in full view of the West Ham fans. They were really ruling not having Antonio there. You know, Bowen tried it up front. He played okay, but didn't quite work. They created a lot of chances against Man United. They really could have done with someone like Lingard to add to the finishing, which he demonstrated.
Yeah, of course they missed on someone like kind of Lingard who can get those goals, or Antonio who, you know, he is capable of doing some excellent finishes. He's also capable of doing some bad ones, but the amount of trouble he causes defenders, you know what I mean? You're quite happy just to kind of let him to have the bad one for him to then get the good one. So of course they miss those sorts of players. And I feel like I think West Ham pretty much matched Manchester United. Don't get me wrong, West Ham were a counter-attacking team. Manchester United dominated possession. So there's two different styles. But I feel like West Ham were literally, I think they were Antonio away from, hold on to a draw. I feel like they really missed him. And I think you said it then. Was it the chickens have come home to roost with the fact that they did not sign a backup striker. Because and if Antonio, if he wasn't suspended, he would have gone up top. You would have had Bowen then and Ben Rahman kind of out wide where they usually play. And I think it would have been a different game for West Ham. So it's a shame really that Antonio was unavailable.
Then we get to the penalty.
Which one?
Got to talk about. Well. Okay, the penalty that was actually conceded, right?
Okay.
Did you think it was a penalty?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was very upset at his water bottle when he conceded that penalty. But
but is he upset at Shaw or is he upset at the referee? The thing is, right, we had an almost identical decision last week. The rule has been made clear, right? And we won't go into too much detail this time, but his arm, he's making his body bigger than what it naturally is. His arm's out there. It's a penalty. And players, they have to adapt. Beforehand, their arms just kind of would unconsciously do whatever they want. Now they have to be a bit more conscious in what they do in those situations. Yeah, maybe they have to salmon a little bit when they go in for it. But the rule is there. The rule is clear for everyone to see. Shaw is at fault, just like Davies was the other game week. It's a pen.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have your arm so far out, sticking out far, so perpendicular, and it hits it. I know it's close. Literally, the ball is traveling from a yard and a half away, real fast. But it's got to be a penalty.
Do you know what the crazy thing is? I don't actually think. Are you ready for this? I'll try to explain this well. I don't think his arm is in an unnatural position. I think his arm is just there because that's what you do. When you're trying to stop the ball, you sprawl, don't you? It's natural for you, for you to throw your arms and legs everywhere. And I think that's what he's doing. But the law isn't if it's in an unnatural position. The law is if you're making your body bigger. So Shaw is at fault. Pen.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, whenever we get into the most frustrating thing in the world, right? We're going into this trend of substituting players on just to take a penalty. And we saw that very painfully for the Euros, right? And it seems the managers and the technical staff are going with the numbers and the data rather than the feel or the instinct, right? And this, the data says, right, you have your good penalty takers, right? and they're even more likely to score penalty if they're well rested, right? They're not tired, right? Mark Noble, very good penalty taker. I don't think he's missed a penalty. Makes a lot of sense.
He missed one.
He
missed one against Tottenham. And I see why he missed that one is because he said he saw Lloris move early, and it made him change which direction he's going to do it. So the only reason he's missed is because the goalkeeper went early.
Yeah, okay, fine. But a very impressive penalty scoring record.
Agreed.
Like, what is going on? Like, the instincts to put on a player who he hasn't kicked the ball. He's not warmed up. He's not mentally in the zone. Like, I can understand it because, he's a very experienced Premier League player. He's done it. So he's better able to take on that, pressure. But yeah, are you a fan of it or are you not a fan of it?
I'm not a fan. It's a tough one, isn't it? It's because, if he scores that, it's the best decision ever. Do you know what I mean? If De Gea goes the wrong way, even though Mark Noble's penalty was not good, right? It wasn't a good penalty.
No.
But even if De Gea goes the wrong way, everyone's like, oh, it's the best decision ever. So I'm not going to kind of jump on the bandwagon of like kind of everyone saying it's like kind of it's the worst thing ever. I don't say that, but at the moment, to me, the arguments for having a player who's warmed up, been in the game, and is like kind of still mentally like kind of in that game, at the moment the arguments for that make more sense to me than getting someone on who's cold. And don't get me wrong, I imagine Mark Noble's probably quite like mentally quite strong, but still, it's a tough one for him just to come in. You're literally coming in to take that point. It's a really tough one. So I think I'm siding towards the get a player to take it who's already on the pitch rather than getting someone on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, finally, the referees had a brain fart with this one. Maybe they smelt their own fart and, just went all crazy. Wan-Bissaka's challenge on Souček, right? How? It's a total wipeout, right? How on earth did that not get picked up as a penalty, right? Like, did the referee just wanted to play on, like, give the advantage, and then nothing happened? Like, what?
He gave a foul to Manchester United.
I know.
Souček fouled. Here's the thing, right? One, it's a stone wall. Okay, it's a foul. It is 100% a foul.
I know.
Saka has fouled Souček.
It's like Karate Kid. Sweep the leg.
I don't think Bissaka has meant it. I don't think he's meant it. I don't see it now. And then, is it a pen? That depends on if it was offside. And they didn't show it enough really for us to get a good idea of whether he was on or offside. But the crazy thing to me is that he then gives a foul for Souček on Bissaka. And I'll be honest with you, right? My brain at that moment in time was like, if there was ever evidence of corruption, then that club is paying off a Premier League team. That was it. But I'll be honest with you, I got very dramatic. I got very dramatic very quickly. And to be fair, I think you said you was going to ask about the other penalties anyway. And to be fair, I think Manchester United had their fair share of like kind of poor decisions against them. So I did go there, and then I took it back. I realised I was being a bit of a drama queen, and I reeled it back in. But it's crazy that not only did they not give it as a foul for West Ham, but they said it was a foul against West Ham. It's a stupid decision. There's no other word for
it. We go over to Manchester United, right? They got 3 points at the end of the day, but they put their fans through an absolute roller coaster there, right? It was a great game of football for the neutrals, but I want to talk about two players, right? David De Gea. We have to give massive props to him and that penalty save. Like, I know it's good height and not a very good penalty by Mark Noble, but that's insane. That's clutch. Hadn't saved a penalty for club or country for the last 40 penalty attempts, and a lot of people thought that Henderson coming back 2 seasons ago was kind of the end of De Gea, but he's showing what a world-class keeper he is. Despite 2 seasons of being really shaky in goal, great saves against Southampton, kicking has been really brilliant this season. And positional sense back to its best. Like, He's got to be the clear number one this season. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I think probably at the beginning of the season, I think Ollie had a decision to make over who does he start. I feel like he would have made that decision early, and he would have said, right, De Gea's number one. Henderson, it's your job to knock him off, and De Gea, it's your job to keep it. And as of right now, De Gea has not put a step wrong, certainly not from what I can think. So I think, for me, he's number one. And Henderson, he'll just have to make do with, nothing games or like kind of Carabao Cup or Papa John's Cup, whatever it's called. Yeah, he'll have to make do for that until, De Gea's form drops. And if it doesn't, for me, then he stays number one. That's it.
Yeah. Tough for Henderson. The next man is Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo. This guy can't stop scoring. 4 goals in 3 games. Scored in midweek again. And again against West Ham. Really the catalyst for United getting back into the game. He's still such an absolute poacher, right? Like, I thought that Cavani was the best poacher and like the best movement in the box as a out and out striker. But Ronaldo, oh my God, he's showing us again just how smart and switched on he is. Like, he's first to react to his own bloody shot, right? But I want to ask, how many penalties do you think he should have won?
I did not think that's where you was going with that. I did not. As a matter of fact, I am so I'm surprised that you. Okay, I'm going to talk about the poacher thing first of all, because in my head I was preparing a poacher answer. The poacher thing, right? The thing that's crazy, and obviously, we know how good Ronaldo is, and I know he's 36 and he doesn't seem to be slowing down, but he's still got that brain. It's not just his goal. It's just when you're watching him, he just constantly looks like he's going against the grain. And what I mean by that is when everyone else seems to be like kind of one step like kind of behind, he's the one who's like kind of reacting first. And you just saw it time and time again when they were putting balls into the box and it might be offside and it might like not go or whatever. Something might happen, right? That he would be the guy who's reacting first, who's flinching first. And it's so impressive. But that's not the question you asked me.
No.
The penalties.
Yes.
The penalties. Okay. So I think from memory there was 3 decisions, and I think that was the Zuma one, where Zuma tries to get the ball, and I think Ronaldo's already going down by the time that there's any.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably something like they're going to get a lot of penalty decisions go your way, right? But I just like the fact that he's on his way down, and if you're on your way down, you give yourself a chance to not get given a penalty because you're basically simulating it, right? It would have 100% been a penalty if he just stayed probably like what, half a second up, like
I think you're actually absolutely right. I think he doesn't do himself any favors and it's quite evident when it's slowed down that he's already going to ground. So for me, that's no penalty. The Sofao one, for me, that's a penalty.
Yeah, it's a penalty.
For me, I think he's not already going down. I don't think he's gone out of his way to go into Sofao. I think he's got every right to go there, and there's a collision of knees, and I think that's Sofao's fault. And for me, that's a stonewall penalty. And I can't remember the third one now, but I remember after the game me going, they should have definitely had one. So I think we're nip it there. But for me, the Sofao one should have been a pen.
Yeah, makes his move, drives by him. Sofao, he makes an attempt to tackle and he gets it wrong. And Ronaldo goes down. It's a stonewall penalty for me. That's our game of the week. West Ham versus Man United. What a game to watch. That's the absolute thriller. Our second game, the game of the week, is Aston Villa versus Everton, right? Now, Carl, you must be very happy that we're talking about Aston Villa. We both predicted a draw for Villa, getting a lot of stick. But it was looking that way in the first half, right? I thought it was quite even between the two sides. So it took a little while for Villa to get going. They got on the score sheet, and with an absolutely stonking goal by Matty Cash, like with his left peg as well. I think that's his very first goal. Sent Villa Park roaring, and the whole end went crazy there. And like, what's that saying, Alex? Like when you wait all day for a bus, like 2 or 3 more come. And that's kind of what happened for Aston Villa. You know, they had the juicy goal from a corner and then a cracking goal to cap it off by Leon Bailey. The boy must be in absolute dreamland. You know, we were talking about Edouard for Crystal Palace last week, but what an introduction to life at Aston Villa. Have they unearthed a new star to replace Jack Grealish? I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, no, that's a bit strong. I'll tell you why that's a bit strong, okay? It's not the star bit, because I do believe that Leon Bailey has the potential to be a star, okay? It's the unearthed. And I'll tell you why. Is because if you speak to any Football Manager fan over the last few years, they could probably tell you exactly what Leon Bailey's been up to while he's playing at Bayer Leverkusen. And they may even be able to go back to his days. I think it was at Genk. So for quite
You're a Genk,
while,
mate. Not joking.
I don't even know what a Genk is, but it does sound offensive, to be fair. It's like I've heard that you like young boys, so that's fine. The team, obviously, right? We'll move on, right? And if you think that's if you do think that's an innuendo, I challenge you to look. Not you, Gary, because you're doing this video. What we need to do is you need to search what the name of the Young Boys Stadium is, and you wouldn't believe me. You absolutely wouldn't believe me.
I don't know. I really want to know.
You look it up while I talk to you about Leon Bailey.
Right.
But essentially, Leon Bailey, he's been on the radar for quite a few years. I think quite a few like kind of bigger clubs have been after him. What's the name of the stadium, Gary?
Vankdorf Stadium.
The Vankdorf,
thing with a V.
The Young Boys.
So I don't get cut off from YouTube. Lovely.
But look, we'll carry on with Leon Bailey. That's what we're talking about, right? And I will say Aston Villa have unearthed him because I think he's been on quite a few teams' radar for quite a while. But what Aston Villa have done is they've moved early. I don't think a lot of people saw that Leon Bailey transfer happening. So I think they've moved early and they've got ahead of the big clubs. And I feel like Aston Villa is a really good club for them to nurture his natural talent, which he does have in bundles. And we saw just a small part of like kind of how much potential he's got in his cameo. So have they unearthed a star? No. But do they have a potential star in their ranks now? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just reading his stats right here. Right, 25 appearances for Bayern Leverkusen last season, 9 goals, 8 assists, very solid numbers. Champions League, six appearances, 5 goals and 2 assists. He could be a bright star. Like Aston Villa, you know, they've created a squad, quite a young squad, right? They're young. They have to establish themselves within the team and within the Premier League. I think they got some really good potential, like we saw against Everton. But I just think for now, it's going to be a bit topsy-turvy in terms of consistency throughout the season because they've got a young squad, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, right, they might go for periods of where it looks quite bad, might be a couple draws, couple defeats. And like it's been a difficult start to the season, a bit for Villa. Life after Grealish is going to take some adapting. You know, the other week they lost to Chelsea 3-0. It looks bad on paper, which, you know, they played much better than the scoreline suggests. And Dean Smith, he came under what I would say as social media pressure, calling for him to be sacked, which I thought was kind of foolish. Like, were you surprised at all?
No, because it's not social media pressure; it's idiot pressure. You know, it's idiots. It's the same people who like because there are people out there who 5 games into his job are still calling for Nuno sacking, and they're the exact same people that are putting Dean Smith under pressure. Let's put it out there, right? Any team loses a player of Jack Grealish's quality, they are going to go through some form of transitional phase. Right, and adding to that mixture that they also brought in Ings and they're changing formation. They're going to go through this like kind of where they're trying to work out like kind of the players' positions, like kind of and how they're going to play in this like kind of new world without Grealish and with a new formation. And with a transitional phase comes inconsistency while they're trying to work it out. You have to give them time, and and I'll just to sum up your question as like kind of if he's under no pressure, because the only people put him under pressure are, as I say, they're idiots. He's a few games in.
Yeah, fans with Twitter fingers. Dean Smith, ever since he's got to Aston Villa, has just gotten better and better every season. So
it's crazy, yeah.
And he's been a part of sort of small mini rebuilds. So he's the right leader for Aston Villa at the moment right now. So
and as you said, right, they've got a lot of good young players, and I think I said that they're actually quite good at nurturing these players. And you've got a manager that does that. Why would you put this guy under pressure? Give him time. Let him kind of produce these players. Let them get in working 100% with all pushing in the right direction. They could have a
Well, my only point was that the plan is obvious to the fans. They sold Jack Grealish for 100 million, and they reinvested that back into the squad, which is the minimum that you want from as a fan, right? Yeah. But the strategy of buying young players with good potential, I think it gives Dean Smith and the club more time to implement that project. So I don't think they might lose a couple of games, but I think they're absolutely fine. Fine.
Yeah, I agree. And, just to nip this in the bud, I feel like Dean Smith, how well he's done, and I think you put it very well, but I think he's earned a bit of patience from idiots, because I'm pretty sure that 99% of Aston Villa fans are probably saying or feeling how we're feeling, which is you can see the underlying the core is there. It just needs tweaks, and they'll get there with time.
Yeah, it's probably Birmingham City fans just creating burner accounts, just saying Smith out, just so they get him out of the club, so they don't have to watch Aston Villa do so well in the Premier League. Everton, right, well beaten in the end. Right, Villa were all over them like a rash in 9 minutes, essentially 9 minutes. There wasn't so much to separate them in that first half. Do you think they just lost it after conceding that first goal? I really think they just lost their composure, and they just couldn't get. Saying that they gave up is wrong, but I think that's a balance between that and really losing their composure. How did you see it?
I think this is something we've seen it time and time again, right? And it's got lots of different factors to it. But when a team concedes, usually there's a reaction. Sometimes that reaction is good, sometimes that reaction is bad. And as I just said, there's a lot of factors into that. And I think one of those factors is probably how well of a team, how good of a team are they? How much teamwork do they have? How much cohesion do they have? How long have they been together? How long have they been under their manager? And I feel as they're under quite a new manager, and I feel they're still trying to learn Benitez's way, whilst they're still trying to learn that, I feel as soon as that first goal went in, I feel it went a little bit to panic stations. People they lost their concentration a little bit, they lost their shape a little bit, and it just all went to pot. I don't think they gave up. It was just one of them where it was working, and then as soon as it wasn't working, I think everyone just reverted to type, and they become less of a team and more just a group of individuals trying to win a football match, which is always going to be difficult. So I think it's probably more, just early days for Benitez, and I imagine in a year or so's time, it's something we shouldn't see from them.
Yeah, I just would as any fan of any club, right? When you can see the goal, you just keep it solid for a little bit. You just don't concede a daft goal, which essentially is what they did, right, from the corner. But I have to point out that they had a lot of absentees, right? Everton, which made they were in it for quite a while, and then once they conceded, maybe they just thought, can't do it anymore without these players. Pickford was out. Charleston looks out to be for a little while as well. Gbamin is out as well. Seamus Coleman out too. So they got a lot of players out, but James Rodriguez, I don't know. I'm not following Everton super closely, but not named in the squad. I think they name one short of a full bench. Is that much of nothing? Much of nothing potentially. Maybe need to fact check that, but that's what I read. But much of nothing.
What, with James Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Well, I think
could have done with him.
Okay, here's what I think's happened is I think Benitez Okay, let's go a step back. Okay, there's a bit. I want to make sure I word this correctly, right? Because I don't want to over dramatize it. I've already been dramatic once for this video. I don't want to do it twice. There's a bit of beef. It might not even be beef, like kind of just a tiny sprinkling of beef, right? With between Rodriguez and Benitez. And I think what happened was it stems back from Benitez when he was at Real Madrid. I think he asked Rodriguez to come back early from his time off after the Copa America. And Rodriguez said no. He said, I'm not going to do it. And then ever since then, you know where you're going to get little like kind of bits in the media where it's like subtle indirects. Like kind of Benitez hinted he wasn't fit. And I think he turned around and he was like, oh, I am fit. Like while he was on the international duty. It's just a lot of silliness, right? But I don't think that affected either of them because I think what probably happened is Benitez rocked up at Everton and he said to Rodriguez, you're not part of my plans. Rodriguez probably said, fine, I will go find a new club. And I think that is what's happening right now. And I don't think Benitez has any reason whatsoever to like kind of include him in the matchday squad because he's not part of it. You know, he's absolutely not part of it. As a matter of fact, I think Rodriguez currently has a deal on the table right now in Qatar.
Cutting edge stuff. I am showing this BBC.
Is that Gary Neville right there in my screen?
Gary Neville?
It's you with your Monday Night Football wizardry here.
I'm showing this cutting edge news, although it being 9 hours ago. Everton midfielder travels to Qatar before potential move. So this it's a reason, right? They must have, fallen out a little bit between them. He's probably on a high wage.
I don't think they've fallen out now. I don't think that's not happened. I feel like Benitez has just come to Everton. They've had a falling out previously. I don't know if that's impacted it, but I think Benitez has come to Everton and they've basically agreed that like Rodriguez isn't going to be part of the team, and that's fine. I don't feel like anything unprofessional has happened. I don't feel like there's been arguments, but it's just one of them. Benitez says you're not part of my plans, so Rodriguez says, okay, fine, I'm going to leave.
£200,000 a week. I think that would be a massive, massive saving for them. Okay. Everton, on top of that, they had some poor performances, I thought. I see a lot of Everton fans, being a bit upset about Lucadinho this season, right? Right, which I don't think has been so bad this season, but against Aston Villa, he would not be happy with his performances. He definitely had a bit of a mare. Beaten for the first goal, Matakash got on the inside or outside or in the lane, got in behind him, and then what can you say about their own goal? It's very difficult to perform and get results when some players perform like this. What do you think?
I think he has been very good for Everton over the last few years, right? And yes, maybe he's a bit off form, but you got to give these players time. I'm not one of those people who's kind of super reactive, especially kind of when a player's got the ability. You got to give them kind of time. And I know a lot of people piggybacked on their own goal, especially because that's what happens, isn't it? Just to cap off a bad performance, you then put a ball in your own net. I actually think he was quite unlucky with the own goal. Don't get me wrong, there's a little bit of misjudgment in there, but I feel like he's realised that he can reach the ball and then he's gone for it. And I feel like as soon as he's got to where the ball's coming to him, he's realised...
Too late.
He can get a touch on it, but it's just the slightest of touches. He almost doesn't have a choice over where the ball's going to go because it's such a kind of small touch, and it ends up in the back of the net. But I think Everton fans, give him time. This is a player of higher quality. Give him time. Don't jump on his back. Try not to be reactive.
Okay. Good words. Good words of advice. Now we're on finally to goal of the week.
Keita.
He's gone for it early. Keita. There's a few contenders though, don't you think?
Keita.
All right.
There are. No. Sorry.
To play devil's advocate, then, right?
Go on.
Matty Cash.
Yeah.
Left peg for right back. Jesse Lingaard. as well. And then you got Keita as well. But it's Keita for you.
Matty Cash was a very good finish. Lingard's was better than Matty Cash's.
Lingard's meant more.
I don't buy into that.
So you don't care. You don't care about like the importance of the goal as well. Just pure essence of a goal.
I care about the pressure of the goal. So if you score, like Gareth Bale, the overhead kick in the Champions League final, like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of that for me is probably one of the greatest goals of all time because it's
the greatest goal I've ever seen.
Like, it's not only is it a fantastic goal, he's done it in a Champions League final. Lingard is an important goal. I see where you're coming from it because it's like kind of it's a win, but he's not under like a massive amount of pressure there. It's not a final. It's not a semi-final. So for me, there's the like kind of importance of what you called it isn't much. And Keita, I'm just going purely on the quality of the goal, and that is Keita.
What? Because it's dropping out of the sky, and he's smashing it with his left foot. Can we fact check? Keita left foot.
You checking what foot? I have to think about that. I can't picture. Oh, you know what? All I can picture is his celebration. Like afterwards, he looks a bit like Chris Eubank, didn't he? He looked a bit like Chris Eubank, you know, like kind of like his fights, and he'd be like.
I thought he looked a bit like Eric Cantona.
Chris Eubank. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Yeah, he's like Eric Cantona. He's like a mix between Cantona and Chris Eubank. I mean, two fantastically entertaining people, so it's not a bad thing. But yeah, Keita for me.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Liverpool. Talk about Liverpool for a tiny bit. Right. They've done pretty well. They're going under the radar. Dark horse. Right. What do you think is potentially like a good season for them? Because they're champions 2 seasons ago, right? Second place, just behind Chelsea. Chelsea are getting all the plaudits, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're right up there. Like a successful Premier League title challenge is what's to be probably expected, like a good season in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Second is win a cup.
Yeah.
That would be your success for Liverpool.
I think now Van Dijk's back, I feel like Liverpool should, and I feel like probably in-house they probably are, but they should be putting themselves under pressure because last season they had the horrific injury to Van Dijk, and I don't care who you are, right? But that injury to a player, that key is going to impact you, right?
Yeah. And
so I feel like they are one of the stronger teams in the Premier League. I feel like they should be winning something this season.
Right. At least the Carabao Cup.
Well, maybe something a bit better than that, you know. But my team is the only cup they win in the last 20 odd years. But I'm going to turn around and say they should be. I feel like they should be set their targets high and just, you know, even if it's just to remind themselves of that Liverpool kind of team and how good they were. It's the same team. It's the same manager. They can reach those heights again.
And they just need to keep their players fit. They just need to get. I mean, I just saw Thiago has a calf strain, so he's going to miss 2 games. It's that sort of like you need the players to be fit.
So I sort of disagree because I think, I agree and disagree. Right, every club needs their players to stay fit, right? But injuries are part of the game, and they got really unlucky with Harvey Elliott. Because it's an impact injury, right? Muscle injuries, that can happen through being overworked, but impact injuries you can't really avoid.
That's 2 though. That's 2 now though.
No, but Harvey Elliott's is it's out of the blue, it's random. It's a lottery. Do you know what I mean? It was just unfortunate. Here's the thing, right? Some of their best players were players who've come in. Milner played an absolute blinder at right back. You had, is it Samakas?
Did, yeah.
He played really well. He had Konate who come in and played well. And because I think we had a discussion a few weeks ago about Liverpool and how much strength and depth they've got. Oh, and Jota played up front. So they've got this strength and depth. They've got these positions covered. So yes, of course they want to keep their players fit, but I think there's a bit more strength in depth in Liverpool than what people realise.
Yeah, no, I agree with James Milner. He almost got ripped. He got the previous game. He got ripped up by Zaha, so he played really well that game. But okay, that's good. That's good to know just where Liverpool's expectations are. I was just throwing it out there. But that is it for this week. We've kind of gone long. We've discussed more than one game, Carl, but no, 2 games. Sorry, but yeah,
He's going to be in here saying, no, Villa played better. Don't know what he's talking about.
But give us a like, subscribe, help us out, help us defeat the algorithm. And we'll be here next week. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.